You nailed the exposure in the field, but when you pull the photo into your editing software, the sky is a blinding, featureless white. So you grab the highlight slider to fix it, but instead of recovering those brilliant clouds, the sky turns into a toxic, muddy gray. The data is gone. The image is ruined. But the worst part is, your camera actually saw those clouds. It just threw them away to save space, and it did it because you told it to. We are going to fix that crushed shadow and blown out sky in a minute. But first, we need to completely overhaul how your camera saves a file. I am Dale Sinclair, and today we are fixing dead pixels and fake-looking edits by mastering the digital negative. Welcome to the Digital Darkroom. Up until now, we have been focused on the field. We have talked about capturing light, shaping it with your aperture, and freezing it with your shutter speed. But all of that physical effort means absolutely nothing if we fail at the very last microsecond of the process, the file format. If you look in your camera's main menu, usually on the very first page, you will see an option for image quality. And inside that menu, you are faced with a choice that dictates the creative destiny of every photo you take. You have to choose between JPEG and RAW. For most people buying their first camera, it is set to JPEG out of the box. Think of a JPEG like a baked cake. When you press the shutter, your camera's internal computer takes the light data from the sensor and immediately starts cooking. It applies a recipe. It adds contrast. It boosts the saturation. It sharpens the edges. If you have your camera set to a specific picture style or color profile, like vivid or monochrome, it bakes that look permanently into the JPEG. And then, to make the file small enough to easily share or store, it compresses the image. It looks at the subtle details and the deepest shadows and the brightest highlights, decides you probably do not need them, and throws them away forever. It bakes the cake. Once it is baked, you cannot unbake it. If the camera added too much contrast, you are stuck with it. A RAW file, on the other hand, is the flour, the eggs, and the butter. It is the raw ingredients. When you shoot in RAW, the camera bypasses all of that internal processing. Picture styles and color profiles do not apply. It takes the pure, unadulterated light data that hit your sensor and dumps it into a massive folder. It does not add contrast. It does not boost colors. It does not throw a single pixel away. It gives you every single piece of information it captured and says, "Here, you are the chef. You bake it." Because of this, I need to warn you about a psychological trap. If you switch your camera to RAW, take a photo, and think it looks flat, dull, and worse than the JPEG, do not panic. It is supposed to look like that. It is designed to give you maximum editing latitude, not a finished look. Now, a quick piece of technical housekeeping so you know what you are looking for on your hard drive. If you plug your memory card into your computer, you won't usually find a file that actually ends in .raw. Every camera manufacturer has their own proprietary label for the digital negative. If you shoot Canon, your files will be .cr3. For Nikon, it's .nef. For Sony, .arw. These are all just different brand names for the exact same raw ingredients. And a quick pro tip, if your camera menu offers a choice between uncompressed RAW and lossless compressed RAW, choose lossless. It gives you the exact same data payload, but saves you massive amounts of hard drive space. Let us look at the actual physics of this data, specifically something called bit depth. I promise to keep the math brief, but you need to understand this to understand why your edits might be falling apart. Bit depth is essentially the number of crayons you have in your box. A standard JPEG is an 8-bit file. That means it can record 256 shades of red, 256 shades of green, and 256 shades of blue. When you multiply those together, you get about 16.7 million colors. Now, 16.7 million sounds like a lot, and for posting a quick snap to social media, it is. But modern camera sensors are capable of capturing 14-bit RAW files. A 14-bit file can record over 16,000 shades of each color. Multiply those together, and you have 4.3 trillion colors. Because we have trillions of colors, we have vastly superior dynamic range. If we look at the histogram for a blown-out JPEG, the data hits a brick wall. It clips. But on the RAW file, that data smoothly rolls off. The clouds are still in there. Because RAW preserves so much data, you can confidently leverage techniques like ETTR, exposing to the right, which we covered in our exposure module. Protect your highlights first. If your camera has highlight weighted metering, turn it on. We are entering an era of ISO invariant sensors, meaning we can recover an incredible amount of clean detail from dark shadows in post. But once a highlight is truly blown, it is gone forever. Let me ask you this. Let me know in the comments, what is the worst lighting mistake you have ever tried to fix in post, only to realize the file was completely destroyed? Was it a blown out wedding dress? A dark face against a bright window? Drop it below, because I guarantee every single person watching has done it. If we are talking about saving ruined photos, we have to talk about white balance. When you shoot a JPEG, the camera bakes the white balance directly into the pixels. If your camera gets confused by indoor tungsten lighting and makes your entire photo look horribly sickly orange and you shot it in JPEG, you are in trouble. If you try to cool that image down in your editing software, you are essentially just painting blue over orange. It looks destructive. It looks fake. But with a RAW file, white balance is not baked in. It is just a metadata tag. It is a sticky note attached to the file that says, hey, the camera thought the light was orange. When you open that RAW file in your editor, you can peel that sticky note off and change it. You can tell the software, no, the light was actually daylight, and the file will instantly, mathematically, recalculate the entire image as if you had shot it with the correct settings in the field. There is no quality loss. There is zero destruction. It is pure magic. This brings us to the professional code, the philosophy of why we actually use this tool. Editing a RAW file isn't altering reality. It is restoring what the sensor couldn't fully express. Your eyes have incredible dynamic range. When you stand in a forest, you can see the details in the bright sunbeams, and you can simultaneously see the details in the dark shadows under the ferns. A camera sensor struggles to do both at once. By shooting RAW, we capture the maximum physical data the sensor allows. This gives us the latitude to bring those shadows up slightly and pull those highlights down slightly, not to cheat, but to restore the honest frame. We use the digital negative to overcome the hardware limitations of the camera, ensuring the final print reflects the reality of the wilderness we were standing in. Now, to be a complete photographer, you need to understand the trade-offs. The digital negative is not a magic bullet without consequence. Because RAW files hold trillions of colors instead of millions, they are massive. A single RAW file can easily be 5 to 10 times larger than a high-quality JPEG. Your hard drives will fill up faster. RAW is also demanding on your hardware. It chews through your camera's buffer. If you are shooting a rapid burst of wildlife action, RAW will slow down your frame rate much faster than JPEG. Are there times when a professional will shoot JPEG? Absolutely. Sports photographers and photojournalists who need to instantly transmit images from a stadium to a news desk within seconds rely on JPEGs. They do not have time to bake the cake, but they also have their lighting and exposure dialed in perfectly before they ever press the button. For the rest of us, landscape photographers, portrait artists, and visual storytellers, RAW is our safety net and our canvas. Your assignment for today is designed to show you exactly where the breaking point of your camera lives. I want you to go to your camera menu right now and set your image quality to shoot both RAW plus JPEG simultaneously. Just remember, shooting RAW plus JPEG will fill your card twice as fast, so make sure you have the space before you start. Once that is set, find a scene with extreme contrast. The easiest way to do this is to stand inside a dark room and photograph a bright window looking outside during the day. Expose for the dark room so the window becomes completely blown out and white. Take the shot. Then bring both of those files into your editing software. Grab the highlight slider on the JPEG and pull it all the way down. Watch how the window just turns gray and flat. The data outside that window is gone. Then do the exact same thing to the RAW file. Pull the highlight slider down. If you exposed it within the limits of your sensor, you will suddenly see the trees, the sky, and the clouds outside that window magically pull back into the frame. You are not adding them back in. They were always there. You just finally have the data to see them. Shooting in RAW is the single greatest leap you can take toward total creative control. It removes the camera's computer as the middleman and puts the raw light data directly into your hands. But now that you are capturing all of these massive, data-heavy files, your hard drive is about to become a chaotic mess. And if you cannot find your digital negatives, you cannot edit them. Your best shots are at risk of dying on a hard drive because your workflow is broken. In the next video, we are going to build a bulletproof organizational system. We are going to look at the 3-2-1 backup rule, and we are going to integrate AI tools to cull thousands of images in minutes, getting you out of the editing chair and back into the field. I'm Dale Sinclair. Protect your highlights, and I'll see you on the path.